Narcissists love rescuing rebounds. They love rescues, the strays. They love the ones that are stuck. They love the ones that are just confused. Why? Because he can keep you in that state for a long period of time. When I talk about rebounds and I talk about rescues and I talk about someone who's stuck, I need you to understand oftentimes a narcissist is looking for someone who is stuck in a toxic relationship already. Simply because if you're stuck and if you're getting out of one, you're going to be at the most vulnerable state you ever are. This is one of the hardest things inside of the healing process. There's like a window. Let's say it's like a 30-day window. That window, that gap, when you leave the toxic guy, when you block him, when you start on your healing journey, there's like a 30-day window that there's a lot of real and raw and vulnerable stuff that's happening internally, which makes you susceptible to fall inside another toxic relationship. I've seen it. And then people get stuck in a different relationship that's the same relationship, just a different person, different face, but the same reality, the same situation, the same toxicity that's ingrained inside of it. So consider for a moment the toxicity that you're struggling with, the pieces that you're struggling with on a day-to-day basis. You're going to see this happen over and over and over again if we don't heal it. Because narcissists like to look for rebounds. They like to look for the person that's divorced. They like to look for the person who's divorcing. They like to look for the person that's considering divorce. Why? Because at that moment, you're going to be looking for something that you don't have. You're going to be looking for a feeling, an emotion, an aspect, a physical relationship, emotional relationship. You're going to be looking for something that you don't currently have. And as a result, it's a perfect time for him to step in and realize, hey, what you don't have is what I got. Now, is it really? No. But you have an opportunity to be able to share with him and show with him what you're missing. And as a result, he has an opportunity to construct and put together the mask. The piece that is going to convince you that, hey, everything that you're missing is exactly who I am, is exactly all the things that you need. We are the two pieces of the puzzle that fit perfectly together because what you're missing is what I have. And he constructs a reality, a fantasy, and fabricates it all together to convince you that he's the one. To convince you that all the things that your previous partner failed on, he's going to do perfectly. To convince you on all the things that the previous partner struggled with, he's going to do perfectly. Now, he might do this after the relationship because after the relationship, you're very vocal. You're like, I didn't really like this because the last guy cheated on me, the last guy did this to me, and the last guy did this to me. And he's like, oh, okay, those I'd never do to you. Which he'll probably will, but he's going to construct the mask. Masks are so ingrained, but the thing with masks that you have to understand is they're all different. So many times people think that the mask he had with you is going to be the same as the one he deals with the next person, same as the one he had before you. And it's not true. You're believing a lie. The mask means he can construct any version of reality to get with you, any version of reality to keep you, any version of reality to make you susceptible to what he has to say, which is why he loves rebounds. He loves people that are already stuck in toxic relationships or breaking up with someone, period, because he knows you're going to be vulnerable. And typically when you're vulnerable, you're also going to tell them exactly what he wants to know. Do you ever have that relationship where maybe your first date or first couple dates where there's this interaction piece of, what are you looking for in a partner? Well, let me tell you, this is my ideal partner. And he's literally just sitting across the table mentally taking notes. All right, have to act that way, have to like this music, have to do this, have to go this place, this hobby, etc., etc. You're literally giving them the cheat codes to you. You're like, if I found a man that did X, Y, and Z, and he's like, X, Y, and Z, hey, actually, I do those things too. You're like, no way, we're soulmates. And all of a sudden, you're instantly bonded and connected. Why? Because he's projecting back onto you. The reason why sometimes you fall in love with the narcissist so quickly is because he's also just mirroring you back to you. He's like, hey, look at yourself. Isn't this cool? Like, it's the exact same person. You should fall in love with this person. Yeah, I'm being facetious because I'm trying to like make a point. Sometimes when you're inside a toxic relationship, you've just fallen in love with an altered version of your ego. Not a popular opinion. Got people clicking off probably right now because you don't want to actually hear this. I'm not saying this because you're a bad person. I'm saying this because you need to hear it. There is at times versions of you that you've put out there and you've said, well, this is what I want. And you put this out there to the toxic guy and he's just mirrored it right back to you. You've been like, well, this is how I want to live. And he's like throwing it back to you. They're like, this is what I want. And he's throwing it back to you. And all of a sudden you realize that the person that's being manufactured in front of your eyes is just a reflection of you. I'm not saying you're toxic, and I'm not saying you're a narcissist. I'm not saying you're creating a mask. I'm saying the things that he's reflecting. So don't get this wrong. Because you have to understand he's going to work really hard on reflecting the positive things. He's not going to reflect the negative stuff. Like, you bite your nails, he's not going to bite his nails and reflect it back to you. Like, that's not what we're talking about. He's going to reflect the positive things that you want. Now, sometimes the narcissist will also find different ways to play off of your vulnerabilities and insecurities. You struggle with something. You have a fear of something. That might be the same thing that he struggles with. You got abused as a kid. He might all of a sudden got abused as a kid. Like, how can someone make that up? No, they make it up all the time. Like, this is not a new thing. Usually what's happening is he's just constructing his mask. His version of reality to convince you and manipulate you to stay stuck inside the relationship and for you to fall in love even faster. Because he's looking for people that are susceptible. He's looking for people that are naive. He's looking for people that are just going to believe all the shit that he's saying. Why wouldn't you? Well, in his reality, it's because he's building this mask so he can get what he wants out of you. When you're inside a toxic relationship, it's easy to try to look on the outside to be liberated by another person. This is one of the things that I had to get very careful about inside of even what I do, because I work with a lot of women that have been abused by a toxic guy. I can't have them latching on to me. I can't have them being a piece where there's this emotional bond or tie to me, because one, that's not healthy for me. Two, that's not healthy for my marriage. Three, that's not healthy for them, because then they don't actually heal. Like, this is why, like, very early on, I started to realize, hey, there has to be boundaries. There has to be pieces in play so that this doesn't even happen. This is partly why, obviously, I put, like, a lot of, like, media content, a lot of videos on social media, on all different platforms to try to help build awareness and try to help people heal. But it's why when you work with me, there's a price point, because the price point actually does something completely different than the trauma bond. It actually cuts any type of a bond. Like, when you go into a relationship with someone, you're getting to know them in depth. You're communicating, you're operating on a different level. It's the same thing inside of coaching. When you start working with people one-on-one, you get ingrained in their life. But as a result, in order to cut that emotional cord and bond between the two that says, hey, I'm the coach and you're the mentee, like, you're the one that I'm working with, there has to be this actual cut. And this cut oftentimes happens with the exchange of money. Now, I know people are going to have this and they're going to be like, oh, so you're just about the money. Like, no, I'm about your healing, but I can't help you heal if you have this toxic emotional bond with me because you're trying to have me lift you out of the pit that you're in. I can provide the tools, but you got to build the ladder. I can provide the opportunity, but you have to take the step. Like, the whole goal in what I do is helping people move, because if you don't make a move, you stay stuck. Now, if people that get frustrated with me, that's because you're like, oh man, it's uncomfortable. Yeah, no shit. Well, so is being stuck in the toxic relationship. Do you still want that? If you don't, then let's talk, because I want to help you move. If I don't help you move, you stay stuck. If you stay stuck, you die. Literally, you will die. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. We've seen it over and over and over again. The stuff that I say on here, I'm not just making up shit. This is stuff that I see. That I see people that they don't come back, not because they can't come back, because like they didn't want to. They can't come back because they're dead. Simply because they've gone back to the toxic relationship and he's unalived them, because he already choked them out 2 other times before and they ignored it. They were like, well, he's just having a bad day. Guess what? A bad day with him choking you out means he's 750 times more likely to end your life completely. But you start to believe that it's not that big of an issue. So when I talk to you, it's a piece where I'm going to get in your world and I'm going to mess with your head some, because I need you to wake up. Because if you don't wake up, some of your reality could get majorly impacted. Not to mention the impact that it has on your kids. The future generations are going to follow you. They're going to continue this cycle of abuse because they watched it happen inside the household and they got used to seeing mom abused, and they either saw, oh, this is how I treat women, or, oh, this is what's acceptable inside of a partner. The narcissist loves rebounds because he loves finding someone who doesn't know who they are. Because when you're getting out of a relationship, oftentimes you're trying to put back the pieces. You're trying to figure out, what's the pieces of me that is still here? What's the pieces of me that I didn't give away? What's the pieces of me that actually define where I want to go? And he's like, well, let me fill those holes for you. And he starts to fill holes in your life that you need to fill, or that God needs to fill. And it leaves you then empty and void when he starts pulling those pieces back out, and you keep wanting more. And he puts you in an addictive state, being trauma bonded, being emotionally and physically tied to him over and over and over again. He's going to use and abuse you in so many different ways until you wake up to the reality that it's happening, and you wake up to the reality that the only thing that's going to change is simply you. You can't force him to change. You can't force him to be different, but you can transform your life by a simple decision today. A simple decision that says you're going to actually value you. You're actually going to move forward in your growth, in your healing, in your development. And if you don't, what is your life going to look like? If you don't pivot inside of your life right here, right now, where's your life going to be in 5 years? If everything stays the same, there's a question I ask so many different people. If everything stays the same, where are you going to be in 5 years? Your relationship going to be better? Your relationship going to be worse? You're going to be more mentally stable and sane, or are you going to feel crazy? You're going to have a lot of clarity in your life, or are you going to be confused? Where are you going to be in 5 years if you don't make a change right here, right now? If you resonate with what I say and you resonate in how I communicate, how I lead, and how I work with you, then I want you to just click on one more video. Go to rawmotivations.com and watch the video there. It's an opportunity for me to showcase and share what I do and how to help you move forward. Because if I don't help you move and you stay stuck in this, understand that your reality will only get worse. Because the narcissist in your life has been looking to use and abuse you over and over again. And until you make a different decision, it'll continue happening.